welcome to another episode of the Fat Girl Friday Show. I am Steph. I am a certified health coach, personal trainer, and a mindset and emotional breakthrough expert.
And I'm sorry, spaced out a little bit. I'm Lauren Clayton. I am an integrative health practitioner, certified yoga teacher, and I have a master's in psychology and nutrition, and I just use that to help people optimize their health. And together we are Fat Girl Fitness. The FATT stands for Psychology, Health, Attitude, Training, and Transformation.
Yeah, and today we have an awesome topic. We're talking about healthy communication. Healthy communication, specifically how that can affect your body and your health, and how you can use it to optimize those things. And we'll go into how that affects everything in your life, but you know that we like to talk about health and weight and body and how you can just feel your best ever.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of times, I don't know about you, Steph, but when I initially start working with clients, there's some health issue. And it's never a shocker to me when I start asking about relationships and there's some just malfunctioning going on in the relationship that's creating a lot of issues, whether it's someone feeling like their voice isn't being heard, or they might have an anger issue, or they're just over, like projecting everything on their partner or loved ones. And it shows up in your health. I mean, you could have heart-related things because of that, throat things. A lot of overeating is to kind of like stuff down your feelings or your voice. There's like liver stuff where you don't feel like you really process, or and especially digestion, like because you're not like digesting the issue, and so you just get all this like congestion in that area. So body and mind are very connected, and whatever stuff is, up in here in your psychology will show up in your body. So it's really important to have a healthy sense of communication. It's just as important as your health or anything, or your digestion or anything else like that.
Yeah, it is. They're very much connected, as Lauren spoke about. It's one of those things that you can't have unhealthy communication, and this can be for your own self too. Like, it may be communication with someone else, or it may be lack of communication, therefore lack of loving your own self. And speaking your truth is a form of self-care. It's a form of loving who you are. And it's a form of feeling like you deserve to be heard also.
Absolutely.
So you might be the kind of person that would stuff things down, and that definitely was how I grew up, being one of those people who would stuff things down. Funny enough, Lauren did a tarot reading for me, which she is amazing at, and I think you do them online, right?
Yes.
So you do them. So if you guys are interested, she
online
does that.
or by phone and in person,
and it's incredible. And one of the first things she saw before she even read the cards was she started talking about how she felt tightness right here, and her throat was feeling constricted. No shocker that that is an area, speaking my voice, that I have practiced getting better at, but is one of those little triggers that will come up for me from time to time. So I'm coming from this place of communication, healthy communication, of making sure you're speaking your truth for yourself. The other thing we're going to talk about is your communication with another person and how that can lead to feeling stuffed. But something I notice all the time with my clients is if they are single, a lot of times they'll binge eat at night, and then the binge eating comes from a place where they're just looking for love. When they come home from work, they'd like a hug, they'd like somebody to talk to, they'd like someone to hang out with, right? And then so you start eating and stuffing it down because you're not speaking this, you're not speaking your voice or communicating with someone. So a lot of times it just takes an awareness and an understanding for you to truly move through it, and for you to be like, oh cool, no, this is good, I have me time and I get to do this and I get to do that. And it's just being honest with yourself and speaking how you really feel outward.
And if you do have that, that's a really common one, is just overeating at night. And it's always good to ask yourself, what am I really hungry for? There's a great book by Deepak Chopra called What Am I Hungry For? And often food is not what you're really hungry for. There's primary food, which is emotions. So you need like love, security, joy, comfort, and that's what you really want. But then it goes to the secondary food, which is actually like physical food that you eat, in attempts to replace that. It can create a negative pattern, like, and just maladaptive things around food, which is what we don't want. So really, like, bringing that to your consciousness is like, what am I hungry for? And how many times have you been in front of the TV or whatever, and just checked out. And you're like, oh, the whole bag or box of whatever is, how'd that happen? And it's just because you're trying to check out on a lot of things, or just not wanting to feel that lack of whatever it is. And as Steph said, so communication and speaking your truth is a huge form of self-care. And it's also a form of like caring about whomever you're with and the dynamic.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when, you know, when you're in a relationship, and a lot of times people are so defensive that they forget this part. But when, and I've been in many situations where I'm kind of like, I'm talking about this because I care about our relationship and keeping it together. I'm not trying to attack you. So we'll get into all that stuff. But yeah, being non-defensive and just being able to hear whatever the other person's experience is. It doesn't mean like you're getting attacked. It doesn't mean you're bad or anything like that. It's just this other person that you care about wanting to speak their truth for the relationship, not trying to attack or anything like that. So it's really, really, when I talk to my clients about this, I'm always kind of like, there's intention versus impact. So sometimes like something comes off wrong, or you are offended by something, and it's like, well, was that the intention, or you know, like the intention versus the impact. So oftentimes we're really coming from a good place. It's just the impact is off for whatever reason. You're in a bad place, or you're being hypersensitive or defensive, or there's some kind of lingering issue that hasn't been resolved that's coming up again. So always remembering that and really asking, okay, well, what's your intention here? Because the impact it's having on me sucks. And communicating on that level, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and that made me think of this morning, how you were saying, you know, the place that you're coming from, your mindset can really affect how it comes out. Like you could say one thing, feeling one way, and it sound completely different than if you're feeling another way. And it was funny because this morning, I remember saying to my fiance Josh, I was like, hey Josh, you know, and I used that tone, and I was coming from a place where I was like kind of in my head about all the things that I needed to do, and he came over and he was really cute and funny, and he was just like making jokes about like, oh, I gotta go over here, I gotta do this, like trying to escape what he knew was coming, because normally when I say, hey Josh, in that tone, he's like, yes, you want me to do something. He thought I wanted him to record my workout video this morning, so he was like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. But it was because I was coming from a place in my mind of like thinking about all the things I needed to do, and so it came off needy. But the real reason I was saying hey Josh is because I wanted to say I love you so much and give him a big hug. So once I did that, he was like, oh, okay, this is cool. But as you can see, it's just an example of how you can be thinking a certain way and it affects how the words come out of your mouth, and it doesn't matter what the words are, they sound like you're thinking.
Right? That's very true. And let's talk about that, like because it's so important to get your needs met, and I think that your partner should help you get your needs met, or your loved ones.
Agree.
You know, the people that are closest to you in your life, that's your support system. And sometimes it's hard to ask. I notice this a lot, especially I think with people that have like the caretaking role in their family or whatever. It's so hard for them. Yeah. They're almost on autopilot. It's like I would never think to ask for help, and sometimes resentment could build up, or you know, different things like that, or just physically feeling worn out, or you know, a lot of times what I see is people getting sick, not because like for instance this time of year, not because a cold is going around, because they need a fucking break and they don't know how to ask for one, so they conveniently get sick so they can just have a little break. So it's really important to be able to ask for help. Again, another form of self-care, and it doesn't I feel like a lot of people, like, they just don't want to inconvenience anyone, or don't feel like they're worthy of having help or whatever.
Yeah, it is a worth issue.
It's totally a worth issue, and you know, we're all meant to help each other out anyway. So have you had that come up where it's just really hard for you to reach out and ask for help sometimes?
Absolutely. A lot more in my past than now, because I've really begun to own my voice and speak my truth more. I keep pointing to this as I say it. But yeah, in the past I used to, I was always sick.
Right.
Always
yeah,
sick.
that's right, yeah.
I caught every single cold. I got strep throat 9 times in 1 year, had to get my tonsils taken out, which now I'm like, I should have never gotten my tonsils out. But that's another story. But yeah, I wasn't speaking my truth. So yeah, I was getting sick, throat things, sinus things, and I just wasn't asking for things from people. So yeah, my way of asking was, oh, I'm sick, and I know that when I'm sick I get taken care of.
Right.
So of course. What about you? Do you find yourself ever feeling that? Like, I am not speaking my truth, so I am seeking?
Yeah, definitely with getting sick or just like getting like a little, I've never had like a really major injury, but just having like little injuries or like all of a sudden, because I've overcommitted myself, I'm so overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God. And instead of saying, like having a boundary and being like, I can't help you, like putting all of my needs to the side and like catering to everyone else, I would just be like, all of a sudden like something would come up, or like I'd get like rear-ended or something, you know, it's just like, oh, blah, now I can't do this because of this happened, and it's just like, you know, I just needed to fucking chill and be like, yes, I can do this, no, I can't, and being okay. I think I attached to like, if I didn't meet everyone's requests, then they wouldn't, either they wouldn't like me or they would think I'm being selfish, and then I just had, there was a lot of negative messages around being selfish if I wasn't completely just catering to everyone else. So, and now I kind of like not embrace selfishness, but like really self-care. I think that people have a really misconstrued idea of what the word selfish is, and like if they're taking care of themselves, it's like, oh no, I'm not being selfish. It's like, no, really you're being selfish by just constantly doing things for others and not taking care of yourself first.
Oh yeah.
That's really being selfish. So
yeah, I think selfish is one of the best things in the world you can be, and I used to think it was the worst. And clearly by my health and everything in my life in the past, being non-selfish was not working for me.
Yeah.
It was making me sick. It was making me stuff everything down. So yes, being selfish can be the best thing you could do for everybody around you. And I thought it was really interesting too to think about. I had this thought as you were talking about the mindset when you start to think about you know, speaking your truth and asking for things, you kind of clench up. You know, if that's not natural for you.
oh yeah.
And I'm thinking about workouts and stuff because you're talking about injuries and things like that. You know, I believe that when somebody's doing a workout or whatever physical activity and they get hurt, a lot of times it's because they tense their bodies. You know that, like, if you were to fall or something like that, the worst thing you could do is tense up.
Right.
You just want to kind of like go with it. Or like if you're running downhill, the worst thing you can do is be tense and smack on the pavement. You want to just kind of let your body go with the downhill motion. And so if you're doing a workout and you injure yourself, a lot of times it's because you're tight and you're clenching, and you're probably coming from a mindset where you're feeling tight and constricted about other things. So your mindset can really affect, we talk about this every week, but it really affects more than you know.
Oh, absolutely. And then a lot of times when people feel like, okay, I want to lose weight, so I have to work out, and then they're not doing something, they're not moving their body in a way that they like. And so they're doing these workouts they don't like, and they're like, oh, I got injured, I can't do it anymore. And it's like,
right.
And they really did get injured, so they can't do it anymore. But what was really going on is they could have avoided the injury and been like, well, I'm going to do something that I like, you know? But sometimes they either like consciously don't know that they're thinking that, or they just don't think that there's an option. They're like, weight loss equals this type of workout, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. So really, I mean, life is about getting your needs met, and life, I think, is about feeling good. When you distill down every single thing that you do, you just stop doing this hand motion all the time. When you distill down every single thing that you do, whether it's going to the bathroom, getting water, like what's your basic needs, or something like building towards a goal that you have. At the end of all that, like what it comes down to is wanting to feel good. We all want to feel good and be in this place of joy, and like that's just always what we're trying to do. So, was that connected? Oh yes, that's what life's about, is, you know, feeling good and getting your needs met and your desires met.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, Lauren, you know, in your world, what does healthy communication mean to you? What would that look like, or how would somebody begin healthy communication with somebody?
Well, I think the definition, first of all, is being able to speak your truth and whatever organic feelings and thoughts are coming up from you, and be in a like safe place where you can be heard, and the other person isn't taking it, you know, like offensive, or, you know, isn't being defensive about it, because it's really, your experience is your experience. Like, I personally communicate like this, and I also help my clients, like, it's like my experience is, because that's all it is. It's not the truth, it's not set in stone, it's just my experience of the situation or what's going on right now is this. And I also have, you know, really made a like conscious effort to only allow people in my life that are healthy communicators and aren't, you know, just like toxic people with, you know, personality disorders, because I've dealt with a lot of that, you know, and I'll just keep that in my private practice. But you know, if I, you know, for instance, like I've had relationships where it's like, no, that didn't happen, or no, it's because of you and your fault, and like, and I'm just like, and just even like being in a place where I would tolerate that is not okay. So you know, picking healthy people and also communicating on that level. And then the other part is like being able to listen, which is such an important skill. And I mean, I hate to say like most of us, but I feel like my experience is that
Nice.
A lot of people are waiting for their turn to talk and have a really difficult time listening because of all their mental chatter and defensiveness and just things like that. And we're really not taught how to listen or communicate that well. So it's really new to a lot of people. You know, we're grown-ass adults and we don't even know how to really talk to people.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I've seen like when I'm working with couples, like one's talking and then the other one's like so checked out, like waiting for their, and I'm like, did you hear? And they're like, no. And so it's like we have to like loop it back and forth, and I'm just like, don't worry about, you don't have to have the perfect response. It's just like absorb what this person that you care about is saying and what that means, you know?
Yeah.
So what is your definition of healthy communication?
I agree with what you said. I feel like it's speaking your truth. It's authentically communicating how you feel to somebody, not being fearful of how they're going to react to you. So you might try and censor yourself or not say everything you're feeling, but that doesn't serve you or them. And I know from experience that if I'm stuffing my feelings down and I'm not fully saying everything I want that other person to know, it's gonna get loud for a second, we've got a truck passing. Hey, it's one of our things that we had to trade off for this awesome tree scenery.
We're at Whole Foods, by the way. Like we talked about, we're either at Target, the gym,
we are.
Whole Foods, or like we're
Yeah,
okay, so we're at one of 4 locations.
Yeah, I know. You even like made it so streamlined that we're even doing all of our photo shoots at where we live. Is like we just go in the square. That's it.
We just
You come into the square. But yeah, when I found that I don't say everything I feel, because there's a difference between being like I'm speaking authentically or I'm speaking authentically and censoring a little bit. When you keep some of it inside, that's the kind of stuff that allows you to overeat later on. You find yourself just getting these cravings, and you might say, where is that craving coming from? But it's coming from the fact that you didn't speak everything that you felt. You didn't speak everything that you meant. And you know, we've made this really really clear that it's important how you speak it to someone else. So it's not like, I think you suck, I can't believe you did that. That's,
yeah, being neutral, that's the one thing I was going to add. Not being, I mean, because you could sometimes people like get really defensive and they like suppress their feelings, or they're just spewing anger and being like vile and mean. It's really important to, even though it might be an important issue to you, to have a very neutral stance as much as possible and communicate in a very neutral way. And again, that is
not blaming.
Not blaming. Yeah. Again, this is my experience, so we're not in the blaming thing. And also, you know, like labeling, like, oh, you suck, or you're this, or you're that. That's not what you're trying to say at all. So just saying that. And also, like, yes, it can lead to overeating, and also lead to just health issues.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So many. Yeah. Even like I see like
diseases,
people, like their posture. It's just like from not being able to. Skin is a big one. Oh my gosh, like just like randomly getting like shingles, whatever. Like it's so like it will show up in your body if it's not cleared up here, y'all. Like I mean, with any issue that you have, but especially communication, it's so important.
Yeah. And I host a lot of retreats where we're getting people speaking authentically to each other. The thing you see in the beginning before everybody kind of gets the full context of how to do this is you made me feel like this, or you did this to me. And what Lauren's saying about taking ownership for this stuff is when you say you did this or you made me feel, you're putting everything on the other person as their fault, they did it, and you're not taking any responsibility that you chose how it affected you. Because somebody could come up to you and just be like, oh girl, you look like a hot mess. And you could either go, oh my gosh, are you serious? I need to look in the mirror. Should I fix something? Should I get my teeth whiter? Should I do my hair? Should I do this? Should I get a facelift? Should I do that? Like all these things. Or you could go, that's hilarious. She must have been having a bad day. I sent her love.
Yeah.
You know, those are very different. That's taking ownership. Taking ownership is saying that's something that she's feeling and experiencing and it's coming off at me, but I don't have to take it on.
But I think that's super important to stress because no one can make you feel any type of way at all.
True.
You are complete control of your actions, your behavior, and all of that. There's no other person in the world that is in charge of your feelings or thoughts besides you, boo. That's it. That's all. Yeah. So this whole and I think a lot of people fall back on that, like you made me do that, or like people drink and be like, oh well, I just was drunk, or you know, or something, or it's the weather, or whatever. And it's like, no, you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what substance you put in your body, you are in complete control of your behavior, thoughts, and actions.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, literally everything you do is you and your perception. So get in check where you're coming from each morning. A suggestion I have for that is to do a morning practice, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's reading, maybe it's listening to a really positive audio, maybe it's doing yoga. I know you like to do that first thing.
Yoga,
maybe it's doing a workout, maybe it's just stretching. You know, having something that's going to center your mind or calm your mind. Because a lot of times we wake up in the morning and all the thoughts start flooding in. You know, you have a clear and happy brain. And then all of a sudden you start thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to pay that bill, or I have to do this, or I have to meet that person, or oh, I don't feel good, oh, I don't like how I look. All these things, like, you know, as those things come in or before they happen, do something that's going to keep you clear and sane.
Yes, absolutely. And then speaking of like going back to communicating with yourself, there's always times in your life where you need to get real with yourself. You know, and that should be the case if you're wanting to evolve and improve every day. So journaling is really good for that. If you have like a friend that you know you could be real with, it's nice to like bounce things off sometimes. But if you're by yourself, journaling is really good. And again, you could ask, what am I really hungry for? If it's an overeating issue, or if it's any type of like just emotion, you know, you could a really good technique is to journal and then personify that emotion. So let's say it's like feeling like anger. Okay, so just pretend like anger is outside of you, and it's like, well, what is this anger trying to communicate to me? What does it need? What would satisfy the anger with anything? And that's a really good way to just kind of get down to the nitty-gritty about like what's really going on and what's holding you back.
Yeah, I really think that there is nothing more powerful than clarity, and journaling gives you a lot of clarity. Once you're clear on something, it can come to you really fast. Right. But if you're not clear, if you're somewhat wishy-washy, you have like a little clarity, but then also some cloudiness, it's not going to come right to you. So you get clear when you start writing and when you start being with yourself and your own thoughts.
And you know, nothing devolves you or kind of will diminish your health and well-being faster than things not being clear. Actually, like a lot of and a lot of it doesn't matter what spiritual practice you have, the sign for like evil or like the devil, it's just about things being unclear. You know, like the what's the Pentagon thing called again?
Oh,
the thingy. and even it's upside down. It's upside down, like in feng shui, or not feng shui, but in like acupuncture, whatever, in Chinese medicine, there's like the pentagon and like the top part is here. But like in, you know, it's upside down for like when they're talking about like, you know, evil or devil related things, devil worshiping. It's upside down because it's like everything that's supposed to be in balance is now upside down and it's unclear. So I mean, that's all. Like if anyone is being like unclear, shady, or anything, or if you're doing that and you don't have clarity, clear it up immediately and get rid of people that aren't clear about, you know, what they're doing, and you know, things like that. It's really important, even if it seems like it's not a big deal. It is.
It's good to be clear also on even the simplest things, like when Lauren and I get together to do goals. It's really good before going into that, or to record this show, for us to each go into it being like, okay, what do I want to do here? What do I want to create? What emotions want to come from this? How do I want it to feel? And you know, it's like having that clarity around it. Lauren and I come into this and we create something really beautiful with a lot of useful information for you guys. If we were to kind of be just, oh, let's just maybe see how this goes, like, it wouldn't be as effective.
And that's a good thing about goals. So Steph and I, we do goals every week and we hold each other accountable. We do goals in health,
Yeah, we do.
wealth, relationships, and career. And so we'll have a goal and we are very specific about it. And you know, sometimes we'll be like, whoa, that's not specific enough, or what do you mean by that? And a lot of times if you don't like catch that, it's because it's like something you don't believe you can have, or just something you might have like just, I guess, a growing edge around. So getting really specific with your goals, and that is a form of self-care and communicating properly with yourself. It's like, well, what is it that I want? What am I trying to create in the world?
Yeah, healthy communication goals.
Boom.
So you either have healthy communication with someone else, healthy communication with yourself.
Yourself first.
Yourself first. Let's
And
put those
then
in order.
It makes
Self,
it easier to communicate with others.
others, goals. Is that what we just said?
Or that goes under self. But then
Yeah.
I also think, you know, once you start to do that, you will just magically, automatically draw in like the best people for you. And then the ones that are, you know, not doing that for you, or not helping your overall well-being, they'll just drop away. And so you always want the highest and best energy around you, which is in the form of people and everything else. So really working on that and being really good communicator with yourself and then others will just, I mean, it really will create magic in your life.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about standards, you know.